Hey, I'm in Jean's dining room. It's nighttime because I didn't get this done earlier today. To be quite frank, I'm still jet lagged and I slept in quite late, very late. And then we went to the grocery store and then we took a little drive down to see if the farm store was open, and it was not. But what you're going to see tonight is the other way to install a lifeline using needles that help you do that. So needles that have a lifeline hole. I figured some things out. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install the lifeline, but also optional ways of fixing the problem of locking in your stitch markers. Now, it's a bit fiddly, and if it becomes too fiddly, by all means, there is nothing wrong with locking in those stitch markers until you're to the next repeat and just putting new ones in. So you need twice as many stitch markers. It's not that big of a deal. But I wanted to show you this other technique so that you have an idea of one way you can do it if you feel like this effort is worth more than the installing of the new stitch markers. All right, so we're here, and I have done 3 repeats of this pattern. I'm ready to install another lifeline. Yes, I was naughty and I did a couple without a lifeline because I had airplane time. What we're going to do now is use a lifeline on the needle. While you weren't here, I traded out the needles I was using for the Chai-Goo interchangeables that come with a little hole. Do you see that hole? See if I can help you see the hole. See the little hole along in there, right in there? That's a lifeline hole. And you are going to need a thinner piece of thread. Jean found me this rayon, which actually is quite nice. This rayon, probably equivalent to a size 40, maybe even a 50 thread. And what you do is you thread through that hole, and let's hope it works for me because I've had some trouble. Put the lifeline in, thread it through, and then I'm going to knit the 10 stitches that should be between each lace repeat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, here's the dilemma. I could keep going. I could flip this stitch marker across and keep going, but what's going to happen is that stitch marker is going to get caught in that lifeline. It's perfectly fine. You could get it caught in the lifeline like we did last time, install new stitch markers, keep going, and just keep swapping those 2 stitch markers back and forth. But I did figure out an alternative. What I can do is I can pull this out, pull the needle all the way out, unthread my lifeline. Oop, and this is the one I want to unthread. Unthread my lifeline, pull it out of the needle, go back, and it's a bit of a fuffle. So I'm unthreaded. I've got it just sitting here. Switch the stitch marker across my needles, pull that yarn back through, rethread the stitch marker, or rethread the lifeline into the needle, right in there, and then knit the next 10 stitches. And I can do that all the way around. So knit 10 more. And it is always a good idea to count those 10 stitches when you do it. Pull my needle out, find the short end. And I want to be careful not to just undo everything I've done, especially with the rayon. It's nice and slippery, which is good in one hand, but not so good in the other. Undo my lifeline, flick that over, pull it back out, redo my lifeline. So rethreading this, if you're not a fan of the rethreading, and some nights I am not a fan of the rethreading, you can say, screw it, I don't care, I'm going to reinstall my stitch markers. The other thing you can do is use a teeny tiny crochet hook to make this job easier. And on the next one I will do that. This is probably an 11 or a 12 hook, a lace hook, stainless steel. And just so happens you can get them at the shop. Nice antique ones or vintage ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're to the next stitch marker. Pull this out. Find the short end. And that's the long end. Find my short end. Pull it out. Unthread. Go across my stitch marker. Pull through. Rethread. Now I'm going to show you how to do this with the crochet hook. Let me put the rest of my knitting down. Put that stitch marker back in before it disappears. I can take my hook, push it through that hole, and just pull it back through, and I'm rethreaded. So it's up to you. Whichever way you want to do it is perfectly fine, or not. You may prefer the darning needle method. There is some simplicity with that. Knit 10 more, do it again. And I'm going to do that all the way around this cowl so that I can start the next repeat with confidence that if something bad happens, I now have these stitches and these 3 repeats absolutely secure, and they will not have to be ripped out. Next one. There's the short one. What I do is find the short one and then pull on it. That's out. Oops, not all the way out. Let's unthread it. Unthread it. Move the stitch marker over. Rethread it. Rethread the line. Back through. And so on and so forth, making sure that you keep a length at the end. All right, that's what I'm going to show you tonight. Next week, next Wednesday, I discovered like the 2 most common problems with this problem, with this pattern. I found frequently that I either ended up with 9 stitches in between each repeat or 11 stitches in between each repeat, and I figured out where the issues are. The key, though, is that every time you do a knit row, it's very important that you're counting that you have 10 stitches between each stitch marker. If you find a 9, you then have the opportunity to go down and fix that problem. If you find 11, you also have an opportunity to go down and fix that problem. I'm going to show you not only how to diagnose what the problem is, but also how to drop down and fix it in the row below. Theoretically, you can do this further on up the chain, just a little bit, like 2 rows down, but it's a lot more difficult to figure out what's going on if you have not kept track of the 10 stitches in between each stitch marker on the knit round. So I'm going to show you that next week. Between now and then, we have some fun things planned for the channel. I'm going to the equivalent of a county fair here on this Saturday. We're going to go down over to Usk, and you'll get to see what a county fair looks like in Wales. We're also planning on going to, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're planning on going to the man who invented the vaccine. We're going to go visit his house and the museum that's around that. And then we're also planning on going to a sort of a grand house that really embraced William Morris's aesthetic. And at the same time, they have a craftsmanship fair, furniture makers, potters, things like that, that are also very affiliated with the William Morris aesthetic. So hopefully those 3 videos will be coming up for you soon. In the meantime, keep working on your lace. Remember, we're going to start the Rosita shawl next after I get home. I also have the cruise coming up, stops in Manchester, Oslo, maybe a bit of scenery from York. And until then, keep knitting. I will see you next Wednesday for lace. Oh, remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see when the next updates come, and like the video and leave a comment. How is your lace project going? Does skipping the stitch markers help, or is it more of a pain in the butt? Let me know. Bye.